You're now listening to Vinyl Esquire. Culture, truth, music. Check out www.vinylesquire.com, at Vinyl Esquire, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
People rocking in the house, get up, let's all get live. Just put your foot on the rock and clap your hands, baby bubba, cause you know that it's party time. Now I'm the Zodiac man, I'm the Prince of Rock, rapping all about your Zodiac sign. So if you come out here to party, let's start the show. Party people, just let me know.
The podcast that uplifts the DJ culture and honors our legends. Vinyl Esquire with DJ Rip.
Vinyl Esquire. Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, the podcast that delivers culture, truth, music. Would you join me, please, in welcoming DJ Rip?
Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, and my name is DJ Rip, and Vinyl Esquire is the DJ podcast that uplifts the DJ culture and honors our legends. And without further ado, I would like to welcome the Vinyl Esquire, the legendary DJ, the legendary rapper, crowned the father of West Coast rap. I would like to introduce and welcome the Vinyl Esquire, the legendary Disco Daddy.
How you doing, Mike?
Hey, how you doing, Disco Daddy? How's it going?
Fine. I'm glad to be here with you on Vinyl Esquire.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Disco Daddy, I want to thank you for allowing me to interview you on Vinyl Esquire. Again, this is the DJ podcast that uplifts the DJ culture, honors our legends. You're definitely a legendary DJ. And listen, you're crowned the father of West Coast hip-hop. So I want to go ahead and, dig into your story here a little bit. Is that all right?
Sure.
Okay, so Disco Daddy, can you tell me who or what made you want to be a DJ?
I actually fell into it. I'm from Harlem. I grew up with music, naturally. Have you ever been to Harlem? Back in the old days, everywhere you went, there was music. And I'm from an entertainment family. But I moved out here after joining the Air Force during the Vietnam War, and I wanted to come to California. Never could get stationed out here. So I moved out here, and I lived in San Francisco for a year from 72 to 73 with a girl I met in New York who was visiting from San Francisco a year earlier. But I couldn't get a job. In San Francisco, they've got a residency requirement, which they probably still have, that you have to have lived there for a year to get any kind of good job. Okay, but that protects the people who grew up there, go to school there, junior high school, and they graduate, and there's no jobs because people moving from out of California come, they take all the jobs. So to prevent that from happening, they have a residency requirement. So all I could do was get a job at Jack in the Box on Market Street. The first Jack in the Box they ever opened on Market Street. It's probably still there, but it was opened in 1972. And it was the first one. It was a big thing at that time. Okay.
Right.
But that was not my calling. Okay. And I told the girl, I said, I have family friends down here, actors, James L. Jones, Roscoe Lee Brown, quite a few people, actors who were stage actors in New York before they were even known on film. And when they started making blaxploitation films, they started moving out here. And the first group of actors that you see in the blaxploitation films, they were all New York stage actors. And the producers out here wanted good actors. They weren't experienced that much in film, but they were top-notch actors. You could see from what all of them later did, the work that the body of work. But I came out here with that same ambition. I said, let me come down there and do that. I met a girl, and I was going to LACC. This is 73. And I was living with my cousin, Sheila. And a girl came over, her girlfriend came over, 73, and it was a Saturday morning. Said, hey, we dance on Soul Train. You want to come with us? I said, hell yeah.
Wow.
Soul Train was new at that time. Yeah, so my cousin happened to be a regular on Soul Train. Her name was Sheila Johnson. And Thelma Davis Martin, with Thelma Davis at the time, was a friend. Thelma Davis is now the longest running dancer in the history of Soul Train. She danced from the 70s up to 2000.
Wow.
And you've seen her in some pictures with me the past year or two. We did a lot of promotions together, Thelma Davis Martin, I'm sorry. And so 2 weeks later, I'm at the Proud Bird restaurant in L.A., and I'm dancing at a restaurant at a party. And Dick Griffey and Pam Brown, who were the talent coordinators for Soul Train, who didn't know I was on Soul Train 2 weeks before as a guest, came up to me and said, "Would you like to be on Soul Train?" Because see, back in the day, that's what they did. They went out to parties and clubs, and they see an interesting dancer, they'd ask them if they'd like to be on Soul Train. So there were no auditions except in the earlier days before I got there for Soul Train. But by the time I got there, they just went out to clubs and parties and got dancers, and I was one of them. And the only reason they picked me, I was just doing a dance that I was still doing in New York. So I just looked different. It wasn't that I was a hell of a dancer. I just stood out. So I became a member of the original Soul Train gang like that.
Wow.
So we and I knew at that moment, 1973, when that happened, lightning struck me twice in 2 weeks. I said, this is where I'm supposed to be, okay, in L.A. So this became home. And 2 years later, my girlfriend is pregnant. This girl, she got pregnant, and I was having my first baby, 1976, April. I'm leaving her mother's house. I'm going to LACC studying radio broadcasting because Hollywood had, NAACP had shut down the blaxploitation movies. They were making complaints that there were too many pimps and hoes on the screen, nothing positive except a few films here and there that would come out. And they threatened to boycott any movie studio that made any more blaxploitation films. And this is 1975. And it worked because back in those days, NAACP, just coming out of the civil rights era of the 60s, was very powerful. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the word boycott would shut down anything. So all those black actors that I've mentioned, if it hadn't been for Norman Lear, who started making sitcoms with black entertainers, Sherman Hemsley, the Jeffersons, What's Happening, all of these different all those actors found work in television. Okay. And very few people remember those days, the transition. That's why you started getting a lot of sitcoms. There was no more films being made in the amount that they were made as far as those cult films. So that's where my head was at. I either wanted to do that or, like I said, be radio broadcasters. I'm driving down Adams Boulevard and I see a club that said, with a sign hanging on it saying, DJ wanted. And I'm studying radio broadcasting in school, but I'd never DJed in a club. But I was the kind of guy in high school, I was so shy with girls that I would rather DJ at your party with those 45s than be out on this thing. I could never ask a girl to dance. I just freeze up. Okay, 15,
okay, got you.
Yeah. So I went in, and the equipment was new modern equipment, so that didn't throw me off. And I started, playing the records, and he had the techniques first turned to belt driven that I was using. And they had the same ones in the school. The only thing is that you didn't stop and start them with your hands and all. I mean, you could, but it wasn't like in a nightclub. So I started doing my little Frankie Crocker. I'm from New York. Frankie Crocker was the DJ I grew up with. Before he was on WBLS, it was WWRL, Big RL AM.
Right.
And his name, he was famous. So good evening, New York. This is the show to put more dips in your hips, more cut in your strut, more glide in your stride. And if you don't dig it, you got a hole in your soul. Mm-hmm. The Frankie Crocker Show, the streets of Harlem would clear at 5 p.m. for drive time for people to listen to the intro.
Wow.
To the Frankie Show. Yeah, there would be nobody on the streets in Harlem. So anyway, Jocko, a few other DJs back in that period, they all rhymed. They didn't do rapping as we know it now, but they all had rhymes, like what I just said. They had little bits and pieces that made them all distinctive. So in my mind, a DJ always rhymed. That was my image. That was the whole thought process of being a DJ. So I started making up rhymes at his audition. The name of the club was called The Showcase. And I started just saying little things off the top of my head. Hey, glad to see your face in the place, DJ Mike, at The Showcase. We're going to be doing it like this. and blah, blah, blah. I want to see your face in the place. I made up some little simple stuff. But at the end of the audition, he said, I like you. You're different. Do you want to start this Saturday? I said, hey, yeah, I'll pay you $50 a night. We open from 9 to 6 in the morning. And what you going to call yourself? I said, wow, well, my lady's pregnant with my first baby, and it's my first job in the disco. I'm going to call myself Disco Daddy. He said, okay, start this Saturday. And at that moment, when I told him that, it's like, you ever have those moments in life, Mike, where you said, damn, this would be great in a movie. If I ever make a movie of my life, I want to have this scene in it. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those.
Right.
Okay, you know, there's no, everything was disco at that time. Donna Summer, the Bee Gees, all this is 1976, April. My baby was born 2 months later, my oldest child, Khalila. And I had interviewed Khalila Ali, Muhammad Ali's wife, at one of the Savior's Day that the Muslims used to have while Elijah Muhammad was alive. And the company I worked for, Black Awareness in Television, we produced Muhammad Speaks, the television show for the Nation of Islam out here in Los Angeles, which all disappeared when Elijah Muhammad died. And Wallace took over and changed the whole Nation of Islam, sold all the farms, businesses, all of that. Okay. So, and he wanted to go strictly straight, I forgot what you call that. You know, the straight. He didn't want to be known as Black Muslim. He wanted to be a straight Islamic. The Nation of Islam to be a straight Islamic religion. Religious.
Right. Understood.
Okay. It wasn't until Farrakhan split from him and to carry out the teachings of Elijah, that's where the division came in for a long time. Okay. But anyway, at that time, I became Disco Daddy. And that's what was going on back then, disco. So I basically made that club popular. In Los Angeles, we had teenage nightclubs open from 9 to 6 when I moved out here.
Wow.
And that was slick. They had regular nightclubs for 21 and over, but they had teenage nightclubs. And I made it the #1 teenage nightclub in the city. Then the security guard company, the guy that did the security for us, he wanted to open up a club, and he bought a building over on 91st and Western and called it the Car Wash at first. And this was a year after I had been working at the Showcase. And the security guy said, man, if you're going to open up a club, you should hire Disco Daddy. And he, this is the #1 club. So he came to me and said, man, I'll pay you $100 a night. I'm going to advertise in the Scoop newspaper, which was the #1 Black entertainment newspaper. It was free at all the liquor stores every week. And all the nightclubs advertised in it. You knew who was going to be at this nightclub, blah, blah, blah. So he got the 2 middle pages for the first year and advertised Disco Daddy with my picture in it, blah, blah, blah. 6 months after I went there, the Showcase closed. And the Workshop became the #1 Black teenage nightclub in the city of Los Angeles for 3 years, from 76 to 79.
Wow.
79, I was the #1 DJ, and I had power because I started writing for the Scoop News, music notes, my music column, every week, 100,000 circulation newspaper, and I would write for Motown, Atlantic, RCA, whatever. They gave me boxes and boxes of records, and I could break them at my club, which I broke Rick James' first album. I told Motown Mary Jane was the hit on the album. Later, I broke quite a few records after the record companies realized that my teenage nightclub was like a testing ground for their records. 1,000 kids a night. And then I got the job at Big Ben's Records as their DJ, which was the biggest record store in California. It had a throne in the middle of the floor. You walk up the steps to the throne, and that's where the DJ stand was. But up there, I could tell people, welcome to Big Ben's, the best in rock, the best in soul, the best in rock and roll. And I got the job because I was making up, stuff like that. Customers would come up and say, where can I find Marvin Gaye? You got the nurse over there in the section of Motown. So I could direct people to point of purchase. I could break records at my nightclub, and I could write about them every week in the newspaper. I had more power than program directors at radio stations.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Iris Gordy. I went up to pick up records at Motown, and this was 78, 77. And the same year I broke with James. And Iris Gordy, I went up to see the promo man. I used to just only meet the promo people who come out with boxes of records, RCA, Motown, wherever I was at, give them for Disco Daddy, or they leave them there at the security guard. These are for Disco Daddy. And then that following week, I'd give them feedback on what I thought the records would do. And that's how I kept records coming. And that's how you did it back in the day with the record pools. You had to give feedback. So
right.
I went up to pick up records. Billy Bullock, the promotion lady, said, somebody wants to meet you. And took me up to the top floor of the Motown building on Sunset. And everybody knew the top floor, Berry Gordy's offices, all the executive office up there. I said, damn.
Right.
So he took me in the office, and a lady came out and said, I'm Iris Gordy. I understand you're the #1 black DJ in L.A. I said, well, thank you, ma'am. She said, well, this is a new record, a new group we're trying to push. They call High Energy. They were trying to replace the Supremes at that time. Supremes were going through a thing, and Diana Ross was making movies with Berry, who had left the helm of Motown. That's how he lost the Jackson 5, and the Temptations and the other groups, Four Tops, started leaving. And so they were pushing this group, High Energy. She was producing, and she said, could you play it this Friday and let us know how it's going to be? What you think? I said, fine. I took the record Friday. I'm in there, I'm jamming. It's about midnight, and the owner comes. She said, Disco, there's a lady outside in the limousine. She said she's Iris Gordy. She got 5 girls with her. I said, wow, let them in. That's this new group called High Energy. They came in and saw all these brothers and sisters and just jamming.
Right.
Back funk rules. George Clinton, Confunction, James Brown. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And Disco Daddy was a funk DJ. It was a disco DJ. There was no hip hop there. And they stayed for some hours and partied. And it turns out the girls were from Pasadena. So this is like LA's right next door. They were hearing their first record being played in the #1 club in the city of their birth. Okay. And it was a big thing for them. So I had power, and I used it well. I had other entertainers come to the club. But 79, the game changer.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on. I knew you was gonna go there, and I appreciate the stories. So stop. Let's recap a little bit before we go there. Okay. So you became Disco Daddy in the club, in the teen club, in the disco, and you were having a kid, you were having a child, so you called yourself Disco Daddy. You would say you started DJing in 1976-ish, right? Right. And from 76 to 79, you became the #1 DJ in the clubs in LA. Okay. #1
black DJ. They had white clubs up in Hollywood, the gay clubs and stuff like that. You got 2,500 motherfuckers in there, excuse me.
Right. Right.
In there. So those clubs were a whole separate thing, but they were straight disco.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? This was a black club with a disco DJ who played all funk.
Gotcha.
I mixed from Confunction to James Brown to Parliament Funkadelic and made it sound like one record.
Okay, so you also were just saying, like, you started rapping, but you were really just kind of saying, rhythmic phrases and rhymes in your sets, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay, exactly. So now, you also were a dancer on Soul Train. All right, so this is L.A., this is the 70s. Now, I want to know a few things. I want to know, when was the first time you actually heard a rap record? How did it get to LA? And what did that scene look like in the very, very beginning for someone who was breaking all these funk, R&B records, and you're rapping a little bit, but it's not really rap. It's just more, you're just doing it in your DJ set. Talk to me about when you first heard the first rap record, the actual record in 79, and how this changed things for you.
Okay, well, actually, because I was rhyming, and that was what I was known for, because I used to take people's zodiac signs at the club. Everybody has a zodiac sign. In fact, I made a record later on, after my one called Zodiac Rhymes because it was an extension of what I used to do in the nightclubs. But on the record, I was actually able to put party people in it and make the rhymes longer. If you go to YouTube, download Zodiac Rhymes. It was never supposed to be released, but 30 years later, I see it on Discogs.
Right, and we're going to talk about that record in a little bit, too, no doubt.
Well, so first time, actually, I rapped before I heard the first rap record. And again, it was an extension when I was hired at the workshop. They wanted to do the commercials on KGFJ. He was the first black nightclub owner to advertise on radio, which was a big deal back then for a teenage nightclub. And he said, go up and write the commercials. You do them, man. I don't want to have to. So I went up there and I said, put some music on. And so he started, I forgot what song, but I used. I said, hello out there, Disco Daddy here, reminding you that every Friday and Saturday you'll be taking a mighty soulful ride on that funky workshop camel. His name is Clyde. Now, Clyde has only one mission in life, and that's to make sure that you get to Soulville before sunrise. So come on, brother. I know you stepping strong, and you, sister, put your red dress on. If you're looking for some action and your feet ain't flat, said the Workshop Disco, baby's where it's at. That's the Workshop Disco, 91st and Western in L.A., 1977. 2 years before I heard any rap records. But it wasn't like rap. And see, it's again a misconception. We had, what was the comic? Dirty Rap. He had
Blowfly.
Yes. Big Meat Markham. All these cats, they had, again, these were extensions of Jocko from New York. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
Where they had rhymes. When entertainers would come to the Apollo, these cats would have little raps and rhymes. There's something from the East Coast that has been ingrained since maybe the 30s or 40s. Rapping is not a new thing other than the way it was set up behind DJ Hollywood and Grandmaster Flash Furious 5, which is a whole nother conversation. But rapping as part of black art and being part of black music has had its, say in films and black films and movies since the doo-wop and jazz era.
Right.
So anyway, that was the first rap commercial on the radio from 1977 from Disco Daddy. I still remember it word for word, and I wrote it right there at the station. So 2 years later, Rapper's Delight came out in 79, and I got it in a box of records at the record pool, but it was on the radio. Okay, I got the 12-inch in the record pool. And I said, shit, I can do that. Okay?
Right,
I just knew I could. Do you see? Because now you can see the background. This is 2 years after I had already made the first rap commercial, and I'm hearing a rap record. Yeah, just like everybody else, that was the game changer for Disco Daddy. Because I quit both of my jobs. I had to quit the job at the nightclub. I had to quit the job at the record store because my club is open from 9 to 6, and every other club is open from 9 to 6 in the city. And all the DJs were my friends. And I said, damn, if I'm going to go out and rap, I can't be at my own club. I got to quit if I'm going to do this seriously. And so I quit because I called my other DJ friends. I said, I'm rapping now. Andre at Carolina West, Mr. DJ, I forget his name, at the Speakeasy, which was a popular nightclub owned by Jim Brown, a football player up in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. All the other clubs, they said, Mike, come on through and rap. And so Disco Daddy would go to different nightclubs on the weekends, and I'd rap, and I started getting my name known. I started getting my rap type. And I did this for 2 years, from 1979 to 1981, rapping everywhere. 1980, Michael Mixon Moore, who was a cat I went to college with, he was a DJ also, but he had branched off into mobile DJing for celebrities. Red Fox, Winona Ryder, people who were actors and actresses and stuff like that. And so Al Jarreau had hired him to DJ at a club called the Roof Garden, which was a celebrity nightclub for celebrities only, and black celebrities. And him and his wife Susan owned it. And he said, Mike, come on through and rap. It's 1980. So I went down there and I turned it out. See, this is the other thing. Back then, even though rapping was on the radio and people on the buses was walking around singing, you ever go over a friend's house to eat and the food just ain't no good? Okay, you could hear people on the street. That's the flavor of what was going on. But they had never seen a rapper in person. They had never seen one even on TV at the time. It wasn't until Curtis Blow came on Soul Train, 1980. Actually, the Funky 4 plus one more, Saturday Night Live, I think that was 79. They were the first, and their impact cannot be that 40 million people watched that show that night. That impact from their first rap group on national TV had more to do with spreading hip-hop than anybody ever gives credit for, because only a few people were back there to remember that. I was, but there were people all over the world who saw that episode of Saturday Night Live and said, "What is this?"
Right. Yeah. Salute to the Funky 4 plus one, Sha Rock.
Yeah, Sha Rock. Yes, sir. So the other, but basically that was 79 rather. But basically, it was not a thing where people were seeing rap every week or every month or anything like that. Now, again, it's Curtis Blow and Soul Train, which again, one of the most popular shows in the world.
Right.
Helped spread those two things, in my mind, reached more people than any of the records all together combined that were released from 79 to 1981.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that period there was very important. In 1980, when I did the thing at Al Jarreau's thing, it turned it out, him and Susan say, "We like this new thing called rap." And Al Jarreau scattered, you know what I'm saying? Scatting is rhythmic, is a sound using your voice as an instrument, the same as a rapper. So he felt a kinship there. You understand? Al Jarreau. And I'll never forget, he hired me. That was my first paying gig, to be the resident rapper at his nightclub. Okay. A year later, 1981, in August, I'm at Michael Miximore calls me. He says, "Man, I'm doing Magic Johnson's 22nd birthday." Magic Johnson had just become the star of the LA Lakers. The Showtime had been created just for him. Okay. And he said, "I'm doing his birthday at the Variety Arts Center downtown LA. Come on through and rap." Same thing. I came through, turned it out. Magic was there with Michael Johnson. They ran together at the time. No bodyguards or nothing. They go anywhere they want to. It was just different. LA's different. Ain't nobody mess with them.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, Magic comes in with a glass bowl, and he puts it on the table. It's a nightclub. And there's ladies lined up, all races and colors, from his table all the way to the door of the nightclub and down the stairs. And each one would come up and say a few things and put a paper with their phone number in the glass bowl. Never forget this. And by the end of the night, I wrote a rap called Shakin' and Bacon, which I wish I had recorded, because what Shakin' and Bacon is what Magic did coming down the court.
Okay,
that's what he called it. So anyway, he loved it, and he grabbed the glass bowl, which was full of papers, and he left. And I never forgot that, because I was saying to myself, now how are you going to remember who Amber was out of 100 pieces of, in a big glass bowl that you put fruit in on a dinner table?
Right.
Like that. Okay, wasn't no little cereal bowl. And then 10 years later, I hear Magic's got HIV. Okay, so this is 10 years after this incident, okay?
Right.
So unfortunately, the rumors of him being gay or whatever, I don't believe is true, because you can catch HIV from a woman if you have sex with enough of them. And let's face it, 1980, 81 is just like the pandemic. Everybody heard of AIDS and people were getting it, but you see what I'm saying? It just became a thing. Like, he announced it in 91. In 80, it just been discovered. And it was just being reported about gay men having AIDS. So it became that gay disease. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But this is my theory. But I'll never forget that, because and he plays Magic when he had that bowl with him. Okay.
Wow, right.
So I finished doing the rap, and this cat comes up to me and says, "Man, that was dope." He said, "I rap a little bit." I said, really? I said, what's your name? She said, Larry Glenn. I said, well, look, with my record, I'm making a record. I'm in the studio. This is a week after I beat Ice-T. A lot of
Okay,
this happened
okay.
one
See,
in August.
I knew you were gonna do this. Hold
Hmm.
on, you jumped too far ahead. You literally
Okay,
just
well,
said,
let's deny that Captain Rap, my partner who
"Oh,
made the
okay,
record.
okay. Go ahead, go right
All
ahead."
right,
Sorry.
so I said, well, come over to the house because what I'm going to do if my record is successful, I told him to record the record. I'm going to produce because I knew enough then about the East Coast model. I was reading the paper. They had a Soul magazine, Source, that by that time that were coming out with articles on hip hop, what was happening in New York. And I said, if I was record successful, I'm going to produce other records for other rappers. I was going to follow the New York model. You know what I'm saying? Your record is a hit. You start a company, you audition other rappers, and you produce them. Start doing some of the guys starting their own record label. So he came over to the house, and he was head and heels above everybody. And he could write. He had never been a DJ, had never been on stage in his life. And so I said, man, hold on. I would call my producer. And I called Duffy Hooks, and I said, man, I found this cat. I want to change the name of the act. I'm going to call this record Gigalo Rap Act, which I'd already written because it was a dance called the Gigalo out. But it's going to be Disco Daddy and Captain Rap instead of just Disco Daddy. And Duffy said, what? He said, you sure about this, Disco? We signed you, man. I said, man, when you hear this cat and you understand. And I took 2 verses out the song, and I gave them to Larry. I said, go home and fill these 2 verses in and come back. And what you hear on Gigalo Rap, his 2 verses he wrote, I wrote everything else, all the connecting lines, all the party people sounds, the concept. If you look on the record label on YouTube, the picture of the record label up on the left-hand side, I made Duffy make sure I put this a Disco Daddy concept.
Right.
Because I didn't want any producer taking credit for making my record. When we went into the studio, the engineer had never recorded a rap record. This is August 1981.
Okay.
The band that played had never played on a rap record. The things I wanted them to do, you can't do that. You got to have a break here. You just got too much. It's too busy. You got too many party people, 2 sounds in it. This is not going to work. Everything worked. Okay, they just had never done this before, so it was a whole new thing for everybody. This is August 1981.
Okay, Disco Daddy, hold on. Okay,
Okay.
so hold on. You jumped way too fast. Let's back up. You said that you were in a rap contest and you beat Ice-T. Okay,
It's all right.
Okay,
August.
Talk to me about the rap contest, and then talk to me about how you got the opportunity to make your first rap record, which was Gigalo Rap, Disco Daddy featuring Captain Rap. But before we talk about the record, talk to me about this rap contest.
Okay, the rap contest happened the week before. I gotta end this up so that you understand it all makes sense afterwards.
Yes, sir.
After I called Duffy at my house, and I turned to Captain. Well, he wasn't calling himself. He turned to Larry. I said, "Okay, you're on, man. You're gonna be my partner." And he was really shocked. This is his first time doing this stuff. So I said, "What you gonna call yourself?" Just like the owner of the club asked me. He said, "Well, I'm an Air Force veteran, and I am too. I didn't know that." I said, "Wow." He said, "I was around a lot of captains, man. I'm gonna call myself Captain Rap." So he thought up his name right there in front of me in my living room.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Captain Rap. But I met him at the Magic Johnson thing. Okay. Now, a week before that, 2 weeks before that, KGFJ Radio was having the first LA rap battle. And what the situation was that they did not know if they should be playing. See, there was a period, again, I'm going back to periods very few people remember, where some program directors and people thought rap was a fad, like Disco Duck. It was going to end after a few hit records, but a worldwide culture, nobody ever dreamed of that. Okay. Or the fact that you could make money establishing a record company, producing nothing but rap records. Unheard of concepts at that time. And that's why some of those pioneers, Sylvia Rhymes and all that, have to be respected because they saw what this could do. Okay, and many of them, I'll tell you, many of them went into it thinking, well, if it's a fad, I'm going to make some quick money. Okay, They didn't have any long-term visions either. They're jumping on the fad craze also. Um, so KGFJ announced they're having the first rap battle because they wanted to see if they should be playing more of this or stick with the funk R&B that black radio, been known for generations. The club, the Carolina West nightclub, didn't know if their DJ Andre should be playing a lot of this rap music because their clientele was 21 and over, and they buy drinks. And this is a new music, which is basically new stuff the teenagers are going for. They didn't know if we were working at 21, so it was an experiment from the radio station to the nightclub. I didn't know that at the time. They wanted to see if anybody would come out for two unknown cats battling in a rap battle, something nobody had ever seen, period, in Los Angeles. Okay? The club was packed. Okay? It was so packed that, well, I went up against this cat. We beat everybody. It was just me and him left. His name was Trey. And that's what he called himself. And he looked like Prince at the time. And I felt at the time, because back then, this was another thing, rap battling was not like 8 Mile years later, where you dissed the other person that was confrontational. The early rap battles, even in New York, where you just got up and you said your flyest rhymes, you never really even acknowledged that there was somebody else there. Okay? I'm the baddest. I'm the doest. I'm all the sucker MCs. You see what I'm saying? It was that type of thing. You made references, but you never even recognized the other person.
Right.
It was about who the flyest rhymes came out of. That's what the audience was based on. So, just again to show you, this one of the moments where after like the Soul Train moments where I said, damn, this is God is showing me this where I'm supposed to be at. And I'm selected for Soul Train twice in a month. Okay. So this was one of those moments where this guy beat me. Everybody screamed loud for him. But like I said, it was an experiment. The club was so packed that everybody said that the club owners and KGFJ said, let's do this again next week. Okay? We didn't plan for it to be a 2-week battle. But the club was packed. They had never been packed like that on its regular nights, Friday and Saturday. You see what I'm saying?
Right,
Just
right.
normal weekday. But here it is. This club is packed to overflowing for this new music called rap. Curtis Blow was the judge. Just to show you how one of those moments to take you back where I said, damn, this is my idol. This was 80. He came out here in 1980 and I happened to see him. And it was the first time I seen a solo rapper. And the other thing a lot of people don't remember is that in the early days of hip hop, rap was dominated by groups.
Right.
Okay. A solo rapper was an anomaly. Okay. Like a black hole. It was just, Curtis was the only one. And that's what made me say, I can do this. When I saw him in 1980, I was in the middle of my 2-year thing. That was the first year from 79 to 80. Curtis comes out as a solo rapper. And I said, damn, I'm on the right road. I want to be just like him. Okay. And he ends up being the judge at my first rap battle. Okay. So anyway, they chose Trey. But the club was so packed, they said, let's do this again next week. The next week, I come back, and I went back to my DJ job because I was devastated. Disco Daddy was the most well-known DJ in the city. I had been rapping all over it. I get beat by some no cat at the Carolina West. Okay, so I was glad they wanted to do a second week. Second week, I went back to my DJ days. I wrote a line that may seem standard now, but at the time, it was revolutionary. But I had been doing these little rhymes at my club and all the clubs I worked at. So Trey didn't have any audience participation lines. He learned that night. We did the same raps. And this week, the Fatback Band, King Tim, who had made the first rap record, was the judge. This is ironic and everything. Yeah. And Ray Goodman and Brown, who was the Moments a few years before. But again, they were going through this thing with Sylvia Robinson, who was in the rap now, and they changed their name to Ray Goodman and Brown and left her label. Okay, which shows the transformation from R&B into rap, and which caused problems for many R&B artists as far as bookings years later. But that's a whole other story. Anyway, Um, at the end of this rap, this time, I said, if the party's over here and the party's over there, everybody in the house say, hell yeah. Which you hear on Zodiac Rhymes and you hear it on Gigalo Rap. You see what I'm saying? Some of the lines that I used in my DJ things are in those records.
Right.
In fact, Little John stole a line and made a hit, one of his biggest hit records. To the windows, to the walls, to the sweat roll down your drawers. Disco Daddy wrote that in 1981. In 1991, he comes out with the record with the exact same lines. He was a DJ back in the day. He made it. So he had access to my records. You see what I'm saying? So if you listen to his record and then you listen to 1981 Gigalo Rap, it's in there. Me and Captain Rap and the party people saying, to the windows, to the wall, to the sweat roll down your jaw. And then in Zodiac Rhymes, I have one of the Zodiac signs, the party people, because each group of party people say something different. All 12 signs are something different, they would say, party people. And it's in there too. So I've never sued him, but I'm still contemplating it. But anyway, just to show you the influence you can have on other artists, even though you're not famous.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? DJs had access to records that the normal public didn't have. But the crowd exploded when I said that line. I looked at Trey, he looked at me, and we both knew that when you're doing a rap, the people are just waiting to get into the show. Everybody wants to get in the act. When I said that, they exploded. Everybody say, hell yeah. And that's turned the tide. This time, Disco Daddy won. Guy steps up out the audience after I get my $50. He says, my name is Duffy Hooks. This is my father, Jerry. And we just started the first rap label. I used to work for Sylvia Robinson in New York and Enjoy Records for Bobby Roberts. And he wanted to start the first rap label. And he said, we were here last week, but we wanted to see who was going to win. We think you're tough. We'd like to sign you as the first rap artist on the first West Coast rap label. And that's how that happened. Wow.
Okay, so this rap contest, the first week you battle an unknown rapper named Trey, and he beat you. And that was judged by Curtis Blow. The second week you come back, you battle Trey again, and he beats you. And
no, I beat him.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And he beat you the first week, and you beat him the second week. And Trey turns out to be MC Ice-T, right?
He changed his name a year later to Ice-T, and I didn't recognize the cat. I met him, and then I realized that's the cat I rapped against in the nightclub. You know, we became friends after that. You know what I'm saying? But that's how that played out. And the thing was that he was trying to be a breakdancer. He had just got out the Army and found out. See, even though I heard on the radio about the contest, he hung out at the Carolina West. And he told me years later, I just happened to be there that night. And my buddy said, man, you should go ahead and get up in the contest. Because he was playing around with rapping, but he was really trying to be a breakdancer. Because that's what it was. Okay. So if he had won that night, with all the great things he had done, he also would have made the first rap record, which a lot of people to this day, until they meet me and hear my story, understand that he was not the first. In fact, Ice-T's career began the night he battled Disco Daddy. That's when Curtis Blow told him he could rap. It's in his Art of Rap video, word for word, what I'm telling you. Curtis said, man, you could rap. And he started saying to himself, I can make a living at this. I can do this. Just like I had done 2 years before, saying I can do this. You see what I'm saying? He discovered his talent that night that he battled me, and he won. Winning gave him the impetus to continue.
Right. Okay.
Ice won the first week, but the club and the KGFJ was so impressed by the crowd turnout, they said, let's do it again. It was money for the nightclub. They had nothing to lose.
Okay, so he wins the first week, but however, you get the single or the record deal through for Rappers Rap Disco Company to make Gigalo Rap, right?
The second week when I beat him, right? They stepped right up out the audience And I got my $50 from the club owner because that's what the prize was. And then he comes up to me and says, "My name is Jerry. Duffy Hooks is my father, Jerry." His father had produced Ella Fitzgerald and a lot of the jazz musicians back in the day. So they had studio experience. And then Duffy worked with Sylvia Robinson in New York and watched her put all these rap groups together and realized nobody was doing it on the West Coast. And see, comes out here with his experience. KGFJ just happens to be given a rap contest. You see how God works?
Absolutely.
In my life.
Yeah,
and
you get the opportunity to make the first West Coast rap hip hop record, Gigalo Rap, with Captain Rap on Rappers Rap Disco Company in 1981.
August 1981, yes sir. And many things could have changed that. You ever see those science fiction movies where if you change one little thing, the future is different?
Right, absolutely.
If I hadn't gone down to the nightclub, I heard on the radio. I said, I had been rapping for, 2 years at dinky joints, quinceañeras, big things and little things, everything that came past. But I was so tight that I didn't think anybody could beat me. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And this was before I made a record at all. Ice beats me the first week.
Wow.
First time. You see what I'm saying? And he's new at this. So you can see how he's inspired. And I'm devastated. Okay, but the second week it turned out all well. But again, that could have been changed simply by that being the only week they had the contest.
Absolutely.
I never would have covered. You see, there's many little things why I know there's a God. There's many little things that can change, could have changed it, and you wouldn't be having this conversation with me right now.
Right. So the first rap record, Gigalo Rap, Disco Daddy, Captain Rap on Rappers Rap Disco Company, August of 1981. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So talk to me just a little bit about, because here we go. It's like the LA hip hop rap scene, kind of flourishes from this point, right? And you made a few other records, and I'm not talking about Zodiac Rhymes because that's your second record in 1983. But did you make any other records on Rappers Rap Disco, that label?
No, I left that label. But Michael Hooks, this is a few years later, I had a bad contract experience. Duffy sold a master to a slime ball who threatened that if we didn't sign with him, he was going to change the name of the tune, which was on the air, and he was going to change the artist's name on the record to Captain Crunch and the Funky Bunch. He threatened us. And he actually did that. If you go type in Captain Crunch and the Funky Bunch, Gigalo Rap or Gigalo Groove, whatever he renamed it, it's me and Captain Rap doing the exact same stuff.
Wow.
But he changed the name. This is when I first run into the slime balls that crawl out of rocks, from under rocks, whenever there's a new fad or something where people realize they can make some money in this. And so I recorded Zodiac Rhymes with him, which I had written for Captain Rap and me, but Captain Rap didn't want to sign with him. So the group broke up. He moved to Colorado, and I started working with Michael Hooks, who worked with Ronnie Hudson on California Love. And I had an idea because there was the crack epidemic in 1985 had just taken over America. So I wrote a song called Chasing the Rock. And Chasing the Rock. Now everybody knows up and down the block that you've been chasing the rock. You've been chasing that rock, and if you don't give it up, you might be in for a shock. So I was going through a contract thing with this cat, Joey Jefferson, so I couldn't record as Disco Daddy. So computers were just coming out and being, the newest. A lot of the verbiage in the computer language lingo was making its way into regular everyday life. So I changed the name the first time I ever recorded a different name to Megabyte. So Chasing the Rock is on YouTube under the name Megabyte. And,
wow.
Yeah, that's the only time I recorded different, so I wouldn't be getting any illegal things with and plus the pressure was on me by 85. Disco Daddy, and Disco died 6-7 years ago. You know, you gonna keep the name like that? There was a lot of pressure, which I'm glad I didn't go along with it, because after Megabyte, I just went back to being Disco Daddy, because that, you know, I just, that was me, and that's what I established as a name. And even though I wasn't recording anymore because of that, I just said, the hell with it. I went a totally different direction. In '83, I was watching the news, and I saw the New York City Breakers dancing at the White House for Ronald Reagan. I said, wow, there ain't no L.A. Breakers.
Okay, hold on. Let's back up a little bit. I don't want to jump to that just yet. Okay, let's talk about Zodiac Rhymes Part 1 in 1983 on California Gold Records. Talk to me a little bit about that song. You know, how did that happen? And then let's talk about 84, 85 with you founding the L.A. Breakers. So let's talk about Zodiac Rhymes for a minute first.
Well, Zodiac Rhymes is an extension of the raps that I used to do, the little rhymes I did at the clubs, because that's what made me popular. The girls would come up and say something about Scorpios, say something about Libras, you know what I'm saying? And so they go out, you know, and so, but they were just short little things. Now, if you listen to Zodiac Rhymes, I actually extended the raps for a lot of the signs, and I had call and response thing. Now, if all the Scorpios in the house say boo boo boo, or let me hear a soul clap from all you. You have to listen to the record. But then I had something different for all 12 signs to say, and I designed it that way because when I write from the perspective of a DJ in a nightclub.
Right.
I did do to make people dance. Okay, so the party sounds and stuff like that, when I perform in person, the record is already, you hear like you're in a nightclub. So it's like I'm doing the record live when I'm in person, but it's already recorded with the party people and stuff like that. So, you know, it carries over into the club. The people already know what to say because I didn't heard it on the record. When I get to Scorpios, they know what the Scorpio is supposed to say. When I get to Libra, they know what the Libra is supposed to say. Oh, the Libra's in the house, blah, blah, blah. So and I figured it would be, I'll tell you this right now. Anytime you make a record, even to this day, which people don't do it, but if I release Zodiac Rhymes today, updated it sound-wise, it would be a hit simply because everybody's got a Zodiac sign. And there's no way you can't miss in a nightclub going through 12 signs and you got all 12 of them in there. You see what I'm saying? In different numbers, but everybody can take a part of the party.
Right.
And nobody's left out. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the universal concepts that you could write a record and have a hit. And nobody to this day has done it but me. There's been other records that touched on the Zodiac sign. I'm going by the stars in the eyes. What's your sign? But they didn't rap about L12 signs.
So
one after the other. You'll never find a record like that except mine, Zodiac Rhymes.
So how did you end up putting the record out? You know, because again, I
recorded it with the slime ball. And it was something I did. You see, Captain Rap had left. He moved to Colorado. He won't have nothing to do with Joey Jefferson. And I stayed, and my theory was, if my next record is a hit, I have money, I could just leave this dude.
Got it.
You know
Okay.
What I'm saying? We signed a 1-year deal, which I thought I signed a 1-year deal. Come to find out, Motown called me. And just before Captain Rap left, and we go up to Jay Lasker's office, who's the president of Motown at that time, because, like I said, Berry Gordy was off making films with Diana Ross and stuff. And Jay says, you know, I took the contract up with him. We were about to become Motown's first rap group. Motown had never signed a rap group. They never even went into rap, but they were watching Silver Robinson and all these rap group companies rising all around them.
Right.
So when I went in to record, before I went in to record Gigalo Rap, I used my friendship with Motown, and I went in and got legal permission to use Give It To Me Baby by Rick James for the track. That's what you hear. Gigalo Rap was from Rick James. And if you look at the label, I had to give up my writer's royalties for Rick to agree. His record was out when I approached Motown. It was the hottest record on the radio. And rarely does a record company allow you to use a song from their hottest artists.
Right.
And back then, this was, first of all, before samples and all that. You see, my stuff happened before samples. I actually got permission to use the record. And Motown's theory was, well, hell, we don't have any rap groups. If the record's a hit, it's win-win for us because we get the royalties.
Right.
So if you look under the name of Gigalo Rap on the label, it says Rick James as the writer, period. Okay?
Got you.
So when the record was released, that's the other thing. The first person to get permission to use music from the Motown catalog, the first hip-hop artist, was not MC Hammer. Can't touch this. It was Disco Daddy. In fact, he used Rick James too.
Right.
Yeah. Wait. Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
I got you.
So Disco Daddy, whether people know it or not, influenced a lot of the artists who started listening into this new music called rap. Okay, and this is like 10 years later when MC Hammer did this. But again, I was the first artist to get permission to use, and I set a standard there because this was before sampling. Artists after me were sampling for 2 or 3 years until, the laws were changed to where you had to pay for sampling. So Disco Daddy never got caught up into that because I got permission to use. I did it the legal way, and I'm proud to have done that. And that basically, the Zodiac Rhymes, that's the Zodiac Rhymes story. That's how that came about. But it was never supposed to be released because right after, I finished telling you, Jay Lasker looked at the contract for Motown. He was president of Motown, and he was going to sign us. And he said, this guy Joey's got you down for 7 consecutive options. I said, what's an option?
Wow.
Learn the business. Show business is 2 words, show and business. And if you don't know the business, you can get screwed. So an option means that he could keep me for 7 consecutive years, whether I ever recorded anything with him again or not. I could not be released from the contract to sign with Motown. I hope he rots in hell. I hope his soul rots in hell.
Wow.
Because that destroyed Disco Daddy and Captain Rap. We was like Parliament says, standing on the verge of getting it on, really getting it on, signing with Motown as Motown's first rap group. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So from that point, you obviously decide to leave or, set the music aside, and then you go into something completely different, and you were getting ready to go into that. So talk to me about you in 1984 founding the LA Breakers.
Okay. 83, actually, I'm watching the New York City Breakers dance for President Ronald Reagan at the White House. And I turned to my lady. I said, wow, there's no LA Breakers. She said, here we go again.
Right.
Because I left the business. I had been severely depressed by this guy getting me. I couldn't sign with Motown, and my rap career was basically over. And again, Captain Rap moved to Colorado, and he was brought back 2 years later to do a Rich K-Son track done by Ronnie Hudson called Bad Times, and it went 29. He was the first rap artist from the West Coast to Billboard, up 29, 26, 29, something like that, with Bad Times. These are for real. Bad Times is what you and I feel. Cat that I discovered. I was very proud.
Right.
Okay, so that period, I gave up the music. I started auditioning for dancers, and I ended up having the largest breakdance company in the world. I made Newsweek July 2nd, 1984 cover story. You'll see a black kid spinning on his head on the cover of Newsweek magazine. And in there was a paragraph. In Los Angeles, Michael Calfani has created the world-famous LA Breakers, a group of 125 multiracial dancers available for films, television, and commercials. My phone started ringing every 5 minutes for the next 6 months.
Wow. Amazing.
Newsweek or Time magazine, brother, takes you into a whole nother thing. Breakdancing was so new that every company, commercial company in the world, wanted to get a piece of it for commercials for their products on TV. McDonald's came to me and looked at my group with all these different races and say, you're going to be the official breakdance company for McDonald's. Boom. I called Puma, Adidas, Nike, and Converse. Only Adidas called me back. Said, we've been looking for a group on the West Coast to sponsor. Never seen my group. He said, and Angelo Anastasio used to play for the New York Rangers. He was then the promotion man. He played with Pele for the Rangers. He was then the promo man for Adidas. He said, tell your guys they're sponsored by Adidas. So in 1 month, I got sponsorship from 2 multinational corporations, the first time in history that ever happened. We were the official breakdance group for McDonald's on the West Coast. We did the opening of McDonald's with Ronald McDonald and commercials. And
wow.
Adidas signed us as their official breakdance company on the West Coast. Then K-Day just decided to go 24-hour rap.
Yes, sir.
Ed called me. I met him and Greg Mack, and they said, we just decided to go 24-hour rap. And that's where you guys come in. We would like the LA Breakers to be the official breakdance company for K-Day, 1580 K-Day. Then the Magic Johnson Showtime Lakers called me. Went down, met Jeannie Buss, and she called me because she was going with John McEnroe at the time. Now, Jeannie Buss was Jerry Buss's daughter, who owned the Lakers. And she said, we'd like the LA Breakers to appear at Pick Fair, which was the mansion owned by Jerry Buss, because we're having a birthday party for my boyfriend, John McEnroe. And so I said, okay, we'll do that. But then Lon Rosen, who is now vice president of the Dodgers and used to be Magic Johnson's manager, had been hired to promote Showtime for the Lakers. And he said, well, aside from the John McEnroe thing, the Lakers have created a Showtime, a concept that we want to be exclusively identified with Laker basketball. And that's where you guys come in. We'd like the LA Breakers to be the official breakdance company for the LA Lakers. So in 1 month, we had become the official breakdance company for 2 multinational corporations, 1580 K-Day and the LA Lakers in 1984. But we were created in November 1983. And this all happened over the holiday, Christmas and New Year's. When the New Year came in, I was sponsored by 4 different major organizations.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot going on. I mean, from being the one who creates the first rap record on the West Coast to putting out a few, records, your own, and then founding the LA Breakers, and then this whole thing exploding. So where does that put you, in line with, because now we're talking 1984, right?
Right.
The movie Breakin' comes out, Breakin' 2, Beat Street was before that. Where does this put you in line in the whole, dance scene, like with the Poppers, with Boogaloo Shrimp and, Shabba-Doo, the movie Breakin' and all of this? Where does this put you at?
I did the opening of the film Breakin'. The movie producer came to me and they said, we'd like you to do the opening of the film with Ice-T. LA Breakers performed at the opening of the movie at different theaters with Ice-T. And that we were some of my dancers were in the film. So Ice, that's when his career took off because he was in the soundtrack.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so they pulled him from the promotional tour, however, because his records hadn't come out yet and he was still doing, Ice used to do X-rated raps. A lot of people don't know this, but he used to do X-rated raps before he recorded records. And so he was doing them at the opening of the films. And I remember I was standing with him at the premiere of one of the films, and he got up on the stage and he was rapping, and you had a lot of white people with their children, white They loved it. The children loved this new music. And Ice got up there and said, was taking a rap, and one of the lines in it was, if you suck one dick, you'll suck another. You should have seen those families grabbing their little white kids and saying, oh my God.
Wow.
Leaving the theater. Okay? It's one of the few things you had to be there. Only I remember stuff like that. So, Ice, eventually he didn't have to go that way anymore. But at that time, he was feeling, there was no gangster rap or anything like that. And he was feeling his way. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Not really knowing what he was gonna do. The gangster thing, he was inspired, I think, by Spoonie G.
I believe that was Schoolie D. Right.
And so basically, he found an avenue that worked for him. But originally, it wasn't no gangster type of thing or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So it just worked out well that he did find something that worked. He made it his thing, and I feel happy for him. But that was that period from the early 80s, and that's why I'm known as the father of West Coast hip-hop, because I didn't just make the first West Coast rap record. My breakdance company was the largest in the world, and sponsored by 2 multinational corporations, and it was the first to incorporate breaking and West Coast pop locking. I had some of the best pop locking, whereas the New York City Breakers did just that. You see what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely.
Pop locking was not an established East Coast type of thing, but they tried to do a little bit of it, like it, but they never could quite capture the whole spirit. So it's one of those periods in time that was very influential, because breakdancing, as you know, went on to become established as a cultural phenomenon here in the United States. And a lot of the breakers went on and became individually, some of them became very well known.
Absolutely. And that was the reason why I wanted to ask you, what was your position, or where were you aligned at? Because again, at that time, the movie Breaking comes out. And I understand, there was a documentary that inspired the movie Breaking called Breaking and Entering. But the movie Breaking comes out. Then there's Breaking 2. Ice-T's on the scene with Chris the Glove, Taylor with Reckless. And I know that, a lot of people might not know, but I know Ice, cut a record before that in '83 called Ice's Coldest Rap, produced by Jimmy Jam,
Right.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And
Right.
but all these first rap records, and that's kind of why I wanted to ask you, where were you at with the LA Breakers? Because at that time, again, you got the movie Breaking 2, but you also had this emergence of other DJs and other artists like the World Class Wrecking Crew, Egyptian Lover, Chris the Glove Taylor, of course, Ice-T, Dr. Dre and Yella eventually comes out, and then you also had Uncle Jam's Army. You know what I mean?
Right.
All of this was going on, and that's why I was just wondering where where did you fit in this whole new LA scene?
Well, the rapping and the breakdancing, they had a club called the Radio and Radiotron, and this was Chris the Glove, Ice-T. Back in the early days, they all used to meet down there, and it was one of the hangouts. Okay, I used to go there myself, but it wasn't like a thing where I hung out every week like they did. But I did go through with the LA Breakers. I was busy. So
I got you.
Okay, I did go through there and everything like that, and I got to be part of that milieu. But again, they all knew Disco Daddy as a DJ. When my record came out, all of them, Uncle Jam's Army, Egyptian Lover. In fact, Roger Clayton was the first one to call me and say, Mike, you did it. You know what I'm saying? And I felt really good because then they went in the studio and you hear Egypt coming out with, and Uncle Jam's Army, yes. You see, many of the DJs became rappers simply because I had shown that it could be done. And the other thing was that in the early days, again, that's one of the reasons that I guess I got some notoriety. No West Coast rap records were being played anywhere in the world. until my record came out.
So
gotcha. It was first, and it broke the glass ceiling, and that is what made me very, very popular. But it also changed the game here in LA. Is what you're getting at. All your DJs started wanting to rap. Everybody wanted to rap. Don McMillan opened up this company called Macola, and he was the first one. If you had $500, you could go to Macola and get your records printed up and get a box of records and take them out and hustle. So some things changed during that period of time when I had the LA Breakers as far as being able to make records. The opportunity was there that didn't exist.
So yeah, I mean, Disco Daddy, I see how it all began in LA now, musically, for rap and hip hop and the scene from the records that you put out, right? And then, with what you did with the LA Breakers and the B-boy scene, to add to the popping and the locking and all of that. It's an amazing ride. So, again, Uncle Jam's Army, World Class Wrecking Crew, Lonzo, Egyptian Lover, The Glove, Ice-T, Shabba doing so many more, Yella, Dre. It all kind of just started morphing, and Ice-T, and just the way that it all kind of built out. It's amazing, and you clearly were a part of that foundation. So with that being said, what made you stop? What eventually made you stop, in the 80s? I understand why you stopped rhyming and being an artist, but why did you stop with the LA Breakers and the dancing?
Well, what happened was breakdancing on the West Coast died out after 1985. You see what I'm saying? It was flash in the pan. California moves on. And so as far as being able to make money as a breakdancer or as a group, the novelty had worn off.
Okay, got you.
But it was the same thing in the beginning that helped me as a rapper. Very few people had seen a breakdancer. Even in the 80s, to see one up close was fantastic. The most fantastic thing the human body had ever done before. So I was glad to be part of that. And that's what drove popularity of breaking, was that nobody had ever seen people do stuff like that before. So it just died out. It just died out. The kids went back to school, and that was the end of that period.
So what kept you busy all these years from that point until now?
Oh, well, actually, I got out of that because I started doing, I started raising my children. And that's what I got when I got out of the entertainment business in the early 90s. I forgot all about what I had done, believe it or not, about my history. It wasn't until the internet came about in the late 90s and early 2000s. My daughters were on the internet saying, "Dad, didn't you do this? And didn't you have this group?" There are people on the internet saying they did this and they did that. So,
okay.
Yeah, so that made me get a MySpace page. Yeah, from that point on, I couldn't, I went on MySpace and I started established myself as Disco Daddy. So all the things you see me doing now are simply the people have found me, and it's been a rediscovery of the early history of West Coast hip hop. And that's why people like you call now. I do interviews, documentaries. I speak at universities, Southern California, University of Southern California, every year. My lectures are packed. Okay, so the Father of West Coast Hip Hop label, as you see, comes because I did a variety of things on the West Coast to establish for the first time the viable entertainment as far as being a DJ, an MC, breakdancer, and then a member of the original Soul Train gang, Father of West Coast Hip Hop.
Wow, amazing. What are you currently working on? Do you have any new projects coming out in the near future?
I'll be honoring Congresswoman Maxine Waters on June 19th, which is Juneteenth Day here in Los Angeles. It's going to be the official Los Angeles Juneteenth Festival, Sunday, which is Father's Day, June 19th. And I'll be on stage with a bunch of celebrities. The flyer is on Facebook on my page, Michael Calfani.
Okay.
And all right. And I just finished the Shine Awards, which I've created, which we honor people in the community who are doing things. We just honored 2 weeks ago Mrs. Sweet Alice Harris. She's well known as the mother of WATCH. She's given food for hungry and homeless people, toys and gifts for families who couldn't even afford Christmas trees. Okay? And we honored her with our Shine Awards. The Shine Award is for people who have been out there on the grind, but ain't been getting no shine.
Wow. Amazing. So, Disco Daddy, before we get out of here, I got one last question for you.
Yes.
So, listen. So how does it feel for you to look back from 2022 all the way to the 70s, knowing that you are the father of West Coast hip hop? You were the first to make a rap record, and from that point up until now, how the West Coast dominated the hip hop industry and has done so much for the culture. How do you feel looking back that you helped build all of this?
Well, first of all, I'm glad God allows me to wake up every morning 40-something years later and realize that hip-hop, as it exists now on the West Coast, I was a part of that. So, yes, I'm very proud, and I don't look badly on all the new technology and things that are used, because black music always evolves. We're the only race of people who have created 5 different types, distinct types of music. It's never been done in history, but black Americans have created the ragtime, blues, jazz, doo-wop, and now hip-hop. You understand what I'm saying? 5 distinct musical styles from one race of people. I'm proud to be a part of that.
Right, absolutely, no doubt. So, Disco Daddy, how can our listeners continue to follow you?
Okay, on Facebook, Michael Calfani, K-H-A-L-F as in Frank, N as in Nancy, I, Michael Calfani. And on Instagram, Disco Daddy the First. All right. Twitter, Michael Calfani, at Michael Calfani. And I'm still waking up every morning, still mentally on it. I'm going to be 72 years old in October. I still write. I still perform. And only physical ailment I got is arthritis in my big toe. No HIV, no nervous conditions, or one of the things that older people, you think when you get older you're going to have perfect health. And I thank God for that every day.
Absolutely. Wow. 72 years old. That's absolutely amazing. Your health, everything that you've done, your accomplishments, incredible. So listen, Disco Daddy, I want to thank you for allowing me to interview you for Vinyl Esquire. Vinyl Esquire is the DJ podcast that uplifts the DJ culture and honors our legends. And I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for the DJ culture, for hip hop history, for the West Coast. And you are the true father of West Coast hip hop. Disco Daddy, I want to salute you and thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and I appreciate this interview, and I wish you the great things in all that you do.
Absolutely. This is Vinyl Esquire, and you're now listening to the legendary DJ, artist, and the father of West Coast rap, Disco Daddy.
Peace.
Hello world, I want to welcome you to Vinyl Esquire, the podcast that delivers culture, truth, music.
Tonight I'm going to take you through a wonderful night of entertainment. Hailing from New York is our first performer from Gold Star, California Gold Star Records, Mr. Disco Daddy.
From east to west, you know I am known as a man who gets down to the bone. And if you never see me do it and you're wondering how, Disco Daddy is ready to rock right now. So if you come out to party and you're ready to do it, just a Gigalo down, put your funky mind to it. Now I only got a minute just to make my point. I'm the funky man with the serious joint. By day I sleep from 9 to 5. Then at night I'm all the way live. Instead of yapping dabba doing just a little dabba do you, Disco Daddy's gonna really rock it to you. Then once I get it going, you can go with what you know. All you gotta do now is Gigalo. To the beat, y'all, to the beat. To the beat, y'all, to the beat. To the beat, y'all, to the beat. To the beat, y'all. To the beat. To the beat. That's big, bad, funky beat. Now my mama, she raised me on the one, and my daddy, he raised me on the one. I've been a rapping little man since the age of 3, and I guess I was born to be an MC. I got a pretty brown girl, so soft and sweet. Her name is Irene, but they call her Big Beat. And if you check out her shoes, she wears a size 9, but when it's time to rock, my baby's right on time. I said I like to rock, I like to roll. I'm young at heart and got a whole lot of soul. I said I'm numero uno, that's number one, cause I don't ever leave till I get the job done. And if you give me an inch, well, I'll take a mile. But everything I do is I do it with style like this, y'all, like that. I said it's getting too hot to kick back. Gonna rock to the rhythm of the early light, and I hope everybody's feeling alright. To the beat, y'all, to the beat, y'all, to the bigger bad funky beat, Now with a D and an I and an S-C-O and a D-A-D-D-Y. I said I'm Disco Daddy and this is the show, and I'm gonna get you high. Now the other DJs, they have their show, but let me tell you something in case you didn't know. I said I get you on like a 1, 2, 3 and everything they know. They learn from me, and now Disco Daddy is on the mic, and everybody got a party harder tonight. I shake it to the left, shake it to the right. And everybody got a party harder tonight. And now I know I shouldn't speak for the rest of the jobs, but